नन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः। ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome to the Sri Harinam series every Monday and Tuesday morning. If you remember, in the last two classes, we discussed what is Nam. Because after Bhaktivinoda Thakur has discussed the predicament of the Jiva who's caught in Maya, and the Jiva who is Durbal and Paradhin, he has to attain the mercy of the Lord, and that mercy is attained by three ways: karma, jnana, bhakti, by which he can break the shackles of Maya, of material existence, and return back to Godhead. Bhaktivinoda Thakur analyzed the futility of karma, then Gyan, and then he came to the path of Bhakti. And Bhakti means Navida Bhakti. Among them, it is hearing, chanting, and remembering. And the prime is hearing. And by chanting the holy names, Niraparadhan Namlay Paye Premadan, Tara Madhya Sarvashresh Nama Sankirtan, Niraparadhan Namlay Paye Premadan. So in this context, Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes into what exactly is Nam. Nam ki padharth. That is given in Padma Puran. Nam is Chaitanya, Krishna. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigra Purna Shuddha Nityamukta Bhinnatvam Namanami. Bhinnatvam Namanami. So here we studied how this shloka is being explained by Jiva Goswami, that one absolute truth, who is Satchidananda, has manifested in two ways. One in the form of holy name, and one in the form of Krishna. And there is no difference. And Krishna has this potency, and by the potency, it is revealed. So the Nam has potency. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes on to explain all these ingredients. It is Chaitanya, Swarup, Krishna Swarup, and it is Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Swarup. It is a form of rasa and consciousness. And there is no, it's perfect, Purna Shuddha, and it doesn't depend on the construction of the mantras like Krishnaya, Narayana. And then merely uttering the name, rasa flows. And this happens on the pure platform because the name is Purna Shuddha and it doesn't take shelter of material syllables. And in this context, we mentioned how although uh, our tongue is material, our vocal cords are material, we vibrate the mantra, but how can a material substance vibrate a spiritual sound? We discussed this. So the sound actually has to come from the soul, and we have to spiritualize the tongue. And then we can actually take the name. And the name is completely non-material. It doesn't take shelter of material syllables. That's why in the Namaprad stage, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Nam Akshara lebe, Nam na lebe. Only the Aksharas are coming out and Nam is not coming out, he says. And then further, he explains this verse with the Karika. The Karika is given by Rupa Goswami. Ata Shri Krishna Madi na bhaved grayam indriya sevan mukhe jivado swayam eva spuritada. So it is only material substances are perceivable by the senses, but the name is completely spiritual. That's why the jiva has to become purified by taking name and only taking Krishna Prasad. And when the jiva gets spiritualized, then we can Nama Spurita, Nam will become Spurit. So very nicely, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has explained the Nama Tattva, the Nama Tattva. So now we will further discuss stanza 10. This is what is Nam. Then why we don't experience this Nam where there is Chaitanya and Rasa, consciousness and Rasa flows when we take the Nam. Why? Now Bhaktivinoda Thakur is mentioning this in stanza 10. Jivera aprad krame nama ruchi hoy na. The living entity does not have a taste for the holy name because of his offenses. Because of offenses, there is no taste for the holy name. Here's a footnote. In Madhurya Kadamini, chapter 3, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes the following verse from Padma Puran 48. Kete aparadha viprendra namno bhagavata krita vinignanti nranam krityam prakritam hi anayanti hi. O best of the Vipras, Viprendra, what are those offenses unto the holy name of the Supreme Personality of our Godhead? Kete aparadha namno bhagavata krita, which destroy the spiritual attainment, vigninanti ranam kritya, of men who lead them to materialism. Prakrita hi anayati. So what are those offenses which are there against the holy name, which destroy spiritual attainment and lead men to materialism? Now, Vishnu Chakra Thakur paraphrases this whole statement. What is that? Though his qualities, holy names, and so on immediately grant love of Godhead upon being heard and chanted, though his tirthas and so on award perfection immediately upon being served for a period of time, and though ghee, milk, tambula, and so on, when offered unto him, immediately stop the waves of agitation of all the senses, when they are repeatedly relished, themselves being spiritual, because all these ingredients are spiritual. The Lord's Mahaprasad is all spiritual. They appear to be material because of offenses unto the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What are those offenses? What are they? What are those offenses that these powerful spiritual substances, like the Lord's qualities, the holy names, which can immediately grant love of Godhead? We saw that first verse in the first day, that one Shuddha Nam is sufficient to deliver us. So all these ingredients like the Mahaprasad can stop all the agitation of the waves of the senses. They are, because they are very spiritual, but still it is because of, they appear material because of offenses. So what are those offenses? What are they? This question is being asked with tremor and astonishment. The one who's asking is in tremor, is shivering and is astonished. What are those powerful offenses by which such powerful spiritual substances also, seem to appear material? And what are those? It's because of offenses. So there is a, a wonderful story in Vrindavan of a saint who was doing his bhajan, and he had heard that Srimati Radharani doesn't allow anyone to go hungry in Braj. So he sat and did bhajan for 3-4 days without taking any food, water. And ultimately a small girl, Lali, came and told, Baba, please have this prasad. My mother has sent, in Braj, nobody goes, without food. So he was absorbed in meditation and chanting, but when he opened his eyes, he saw the prasad and suddenly the girl disappeared. And then his spiritual master came, and when he saw these ingredients, the prasad, he said, who got you this? Well, some girl, Lali, got me this, this is not ordinary. Let me taste it. So both the disciple and the spiritual master both tasted the Mahaprasad, which was directly got by Srimati Radharani. And moment they relished it, so much was the transcendental ecstasy that both of the Babajis were chanting and dancing in ecstasy for 7 days non-stop. So that is the spiritual potency which is there in the items which are offered to the Lord, but they appear for us material because of offenses. So what are they? What are they? This is the potency of the Lord's name, potency of the prasad, but they appear material because of offenses, and that's why with tremor and astonishment, the question is being asked. Aparadha shunya hoya, any Krishnam grahan karena, tahara hridaya chaitanya rasa vigra rupa aprakrit hari namer uday hoy. In the heart of one who utters the holy name of Krishna, tahara hridaya Krishnam grahan karena, the non-material holy name of Lord Hari, aprakrit Hari Nama, Uday Hoy, a form of consciousness and rasa appears. Chaitanya rasa vigra, tahar hriday Chaitanya rasa vigra rupa, aprakrit Harinam Uday Hoy. But one who utters the holy name, aparadha shunya hoya, who has become free from the offenses. Now, whether we are aparadha shunya, and what are the symptoms of one who's taking Nam will come up. And please hear that. Aprakrit Nam uday hoila, hridhay utful hoya, chakshu jaladhara odheya satvik vikara prati yamane hoya thake. When the non-material holy name arises, the heart blossoms and tears in the eyes and sattvic transformations in the body are evident. So if somebody is taking a prakrit nam, if he's taking a prakrit nam, then these are the symptoms which are manifested. The heart blossoms, hridaya utfulla hoya, chakshu jaladhar, and tears in the eyes, and there are sattvic transformations. Now, I'm giving you many quotations where Prabhupada is explaining the same statement of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Now, this is the first scriptural reference, Srimad Bhagavatam 4:20-19 purport. When various ecstasies appear in the body of the devotee, it is to be understood that his devotional service has become perfect. So when these ecstatic symptoms appear in the body of a devotee, then he has become perfect. That means now he's taking Nam. He's not even taking Namabhas nor Namaprad. There are many types of transcendental ecstasies in the forms of crying, laughing, perspiring, falling down, and crying like a madman. All these symptoms are visible, sometimes visible on the body of the devotee. They are sometimes visible. It's not that they are not all the time visible. They are called Ashta Sattvic Vikar, which means 8 kinds of transcendental transformations. They are never to be imitated, but when a devotee actually becomes perfect, these symptoms are visible in his body. So when he becomes perfect, they appear in the body. They are not to be imitated. Now the second reference, Srimad Bhagavatam 4:12-18. Now, Prabhupada, due to constant engagement in devotional service, hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping the deity, etc., as prescribed in 9 varieties, there are different symptoms which appear in the body of a devotee. Now, this is very important here that Prabhupada mentions that when we are constantly engaged in the Navabhida Bhakti, that means we are on the Namabhas stage. And from Namabhas, we are going to Shuddha. That's why even Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions that a Madhyamadikari Nirantara Namaloy, he's always taking the holy name. That is a symptom of a Madhyamadikari. So further, by constant engagement, what will happen? All these symptoms will start appearing. These 8 bodily transformations, which indicate that the devotee is already liberated within himself, are called Ashta Sattvic Vikar. So Namabhasya hoite mukti pave anayas. So at Namabhas, one is liberated. That is the stage of Nishtha. At the stage of Nishtha, one is a self-realized soul. So that is Namabhas chanting. And then slowly the Ashtasattvic Vikars will start manifesting. When a devotee completely forgets his bodily existence, he should be understood to be liberated. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, not Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur, Prabhupada quotes in the Bhagavatam purports that one who has, Jahara Deha Spriti Nai, Tahara Samsara Nai, something like that he says. So one who is not aware or conscious of his body, that means he's liberated. He's not aware of the needs of the body like food or water, neither the gross nor the subtle. So he's completely forgotten about bodily existence. That is the stage when actually he is liberated. This is the stage of Nishtha, for your kind information. He is no longer engaged in the body. The example is given when a coconut becomes completely dry, the coconut pulp within the coconut shell separates from the bondage of the shell and the outer covering. So you can see the coconut when it gets dried, so it separates. And now, although it is inside, but now it is not in contact with the inner covering, and the external covering is there. So the external covering is the gross body, the inner covering is like the subtle body. Now the soul is separated from both the gross and the subtle bodies. By moving the dry coconut, one can hear that the pulp within is no longer attached to the shell or to the covering. Similarly, when one is fully absorbed in devotional service, he is completely disconnected from the 2 material coverings, the subtle and the gross bodies. Now here is a very important point Prabhupada is mentioning. This happens when there is complete, deep, fully absorption in devotional service. The third reference, Chaitanya Charitamrita. The 8 ecstatic symptoms are the state of being stunned, perspiration, standing of the bodily hairs on end, faltering of the voice, trembling, fading of the bodily colors, tears, and devastation. Laya, it is called devastation. So these are the references that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making the statement here that Ashtasattvic Vikar will manifest one who is taking a Prakrita Nam. Okay. Athaiva Bhagavate Eirupa Katiyata Hayache. Therefore, it is stated in the Bhagavat as follows. It is stated as follows in the Bhagavatam. Now, this is a very important verse for us to understand. Tadasmasaram hridayam batedam yadgrayamaner harinamadehe na vikriye tatha yada vikara netra jalam gatra ruheshu harsha. Now, translation. Please hear the translation of Prabhupada. Certainly, that heart is steel framed. Asmasaram. Asma is steel, which, in spite of chanting the holy names of the Lord by concentration of the mind, does not change when there is ecstatic reaction, tears in the eyes, and eruption of ecstasy at the pores of the body. Now, this is Prabhupada's translation of this verse. And what is the most important point we are noting here? That whose heart is steel framed? What is the most important point you note in the translation here? Think about it and raise your hands. Anyone? That these ecstatic symptoms are not manifesting, but what kind of chanting he's doing, and still they are not manifesting. Anyone? The translation is very clear. I have marked it also. What is Prabhupada saying in the translation of this verse? I hope my question is clear. That these ecstatic symptoms are not manifesting, but what kind of chanting that person is doing? Anyone? Yes, Shwet Gopi Mataji.
Prabhuji, this mentions with the chanting with concentration.
Yes, please note very carefully that it is mentioned that one is chanting with full concentration. Now, what to speak if you're not able to concentrate and you're sleeping in the chanting, or you're not able to focus in your chanting? That means his chanting is in the mode of goodness. It is ekagra, one-pointed. So, being in this state also, in spite of chanting the holy name by concentration of the mind is steady, it is fixed, and still these symptoms are not coming. That means it is because of offenses. That means it's because of offenses. Now think about it, that how much we should, really sit in a proper posture and with all our heart and consciousness fix and try to hear the name. Otherwise, if we commit namaprad, here this person is not committing namaprad. He's chanting with full concentration of the mind, and still the symptoms don't appear. Jiva yakane harinam grahan karena takana tahara hridaya avashya vikrita sattvic vikar yukta hobe. When the living entity utters the holy name of Lord Hari, certainly his heart will be transformed, certainly endowed with sattvic transformations. Netra jaladhara bahire hobe, evam romancha hobe. Tears will stream out of his eyes and his hairs will stand on end. Any Krishna naam uchcharan koroya, ei rupa vikar labh na karen, tahar hridaya apradh dwara atyant katin hayache. If Despite uttering Krishna's holy name, any Krishna Mucharan Karoy, ei rupe, one does not attain such transformations. Vikar labh na karen, his heart has become extremely hard due to offenses. Hridaya apradwara atyanta katina ayache. So by uttering the name, and that too with concentration, if these symptoms are not coming, then we have to understand the state of the heart, that it is very hard and it is because of offenses. Let's see the footnote here. This sentence is an echo of Chaitanya Charitamrita 8:29-30. Hena Krishna Nam Yadi Lay Bahubar. If one chants the exalted holy name of Lord again and again, Tabo Yadi Prema Nahi Ashrudhar. And yet his love for the Supreme Lord does not develop and tears do not appear in his eyes. Tabe Jani Apratahate Prachur. It is evident that because of his offenses in chanting, Krishna Nama Bijataha Nakare Ankur, the seed of the holy name of Krishna does not sprout into Premankur. So here Mahaprabhu is saying, Tabe Jani Apratahate Prachur. It is evident that there are a lot of offenses in the holy name. Please mark this. Okay, any questions you have up till now? Up till now, what we have discussed? Yes, Prashant Shanbhagyaji. Yes, I've unmuted him.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. One is chanting with full attention, that means he's not doing Namaprad.
Yes.
And the full offenses means is it Vaishnava Prad?
Pardon?
Is it Vaishnava Prad, which because he's not doing Aprad, still because of offenses it is not, he's not able to chant Shuddhanam. It means which offenses is
Okay. So firstly, generally, in a general sense, you have to understand that even at the Namabha stage, there are offenses. There are offenses, but the offenses have lessened. That's the point. And especially in the Madhurya Kadamani, Vishwanath Chakra Thakur mentions that there are the anarthas are 4 types: Sukrututta, Dushkrututta, Aparadutta, and Bhakti Utta. Sukrututta means because of pious activities. You have a lot of inclination for pious activities, or in the previous life, you have done a lot of pious activities and a lot of enjoyment and opulences you're getting, and that becomes an obstacle in a bhakti. Dushkututta means you have committed a lot of sinful activities in the past life, and this life you are suffering the sinful reactions. And while performing bhajan, they become an obstacle because you're not able to focus in a bhajan because of the suffering you're going through. And aparad utta. Now, these aparad utta offenses to Vaishnavas or to the holy name can be from many, many lifetimes or in this life also. And these continue to stay in the heart, and these don't get eradicated so easily with the chanting also. And that's why only at the stage of bhava, they lessen completely. Almost they are destroyed at the stage of bhava. So in the namabha stage also, the offenses because of aparad, whether it is namaparad or Vaishnava aparad, stay. And that is why even in that stage, when one is chanting with concentration, the ecstatic symptoms are not getting manifested. And the reason is offenses. That is what we have to in general understand. Now, what those offenses are, we don't know what we have done in the past life or in this life. Sometimes in this life, knowingly, unknowingly, we might have committed offenses, but knowingly, if we have committed, then we have to rectify them. There is no other way. And in our chanting, as especially when we chant with concentration, it will be revealed to us in our meditation or in some way it will be revealed, even the offenses which we might have committed during this lifetime, and then we'll have to rectify that also. So that is how it works. And that's why it is mentioned that if these symptoms are not manifesting, then definitely it is aparadha prachur. There is a lot of offenses are there. So that's the point being made. I hope it is clear, right?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
One more hand was raised. Yes, Sunita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam. It is said that if a person is committing aparadhs and while chanting, even if he's focused on his chanting, even then he's not getting that ecstasy, and he is not able to cry. But I means we see around some people or some devotees, they cry during chanting. So the reasons may be n number of reasons. How can we differentiate this?
Okay, this is a very important question, and that's why Prabhupada in the purport mentions that these symptoms cannot be artificially imitated. It should not be imitated, and they naturally manifest because these ecstatic symptoms manifest from the Shuddha Sattva platform. Shuddha Sattva Visheshvatma, Prema Suryansha Samya Bhak. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu defines Bhava Bhakti, that on the level of Bhava Bhakti, one is on the transcendental platform, and the soul manifests these transformations, and they manifest in the subtle body and in the gross body. But these transformations also manifest in the material state of conditioning. When one is in a fearful state of mind, his hairs can stand on end. Like Arjuna, Vepatushya sarire me Roma harshasya jayate. Gandivam samsrute hasta tvakchaiva paridiyate. It's mentioned in the first chapter, verse 27. So these transformations can happen in liberated condition, also in deep material conditions. So these are not the benchmark for knowing whether that devotee is actually having ecstatic or chanting Shuddhanam. So the bhava symptoms are 9 in number. Then first one is avyartha kalatvam. That he's constantly engaged with body, mind, and words in devotional service. Namagane Sadaruchi. He has a lot of taste for chanting the holy names. Like that, there are 9 symptoms of Bhava Bhakti which are mentioned. And those are the symptoms by which you can say that one is perfected his life. Because these Ashta transformations can be imitated. But definitely one who has attained perfection, he will be able, he is, he's experiencing this, and he will never show it to anyone. He'll be able to hold on himself, these transformations, what he's experiencing. And if it is artificially imitated, then you can understand that, you'll have to, find out from some experts. Just like a person who is an automobile expert, there is something wrong in the machine. So when he kickstarts, immediately he'll find out, which part is not functioning properly. Similarly, an expert devotee will be able to identify whether these are natural symptoms manifested because of the state of bhava, or is it an imitation. So that's why we should see the symptoms based on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, especially the 9 symptoms which are given, Avyartha Kalatam, beginning with Avyartha Kalatam. That is a real symptom of one who has attained perfection. But definitely, these transformations are experienced, which is a natural outcome of for chanting Shuddhanam. Is it clear, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. I just want to extend something that what I realize is that when the tears flow, the reason must be in remembrance of the Lord or His Leelas. That can be considered as a positive reason?
Yes, by the natural remembrance, if some certain symptoms come also. But first thing you have to understand that these rare symptoms which happen are not because of chanting Shuddhanam. Maybe one name we have chanted. These are not the symptoms of Rati or Bhava, but they are Ratyabhas. Abhas means reflection, and Rati Abhas means it is the Abhas of Bhava, which is also experienced by even new beginners when they come to a kirtan or when they are in the festival or when they are in the holy dham. So we might experience uh, these glimpses, and they are just a shadow. It is actually Chaya Ratyabhas, which is called as technically Chaya Ratyabhas, which is discussed in Bhava Bhakti division of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, but the other times, we are not constantly experiencing this ecstasy. So it's just a mere reflection. But one who is chanting Shuddhanam, he's constantly experiencing this all the time because he's free from offenses. Whereas a sadhaka, he might experience it on rare occasions, and that is a rare experience, and we should hold on to very deeply in our heart, because that impels us to more practice bhakti and have faith in bhakti. But one who's chanting Shuddhanam, the moment he turns on to his bead and starts chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he's experiencing ecstasy flowing in his heart. That is a symptom of one who's chanting Shuddhanam. Is it clear, Mataji?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so Apradhatahate Prachur. You have to understand that there are a lot of offenses in the chanting. Now, in this context, again, I'm taking a detour because we have to chant the holy name so that we can chant at least with concentration. So this is again a meditation on the meaning of the mantra, which we can do. And this is not part of Sri Harinam, but this is the exercise we do in the workshop when we actually conduct it on site. So I'm just going to give you some ideas so that how we can chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra so that we can at least chant with concentration and come to the Namabha stage. So one of the powerful ways of attentively chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is to meditate on the meaning of the mantra. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Srila Sanatan Goswami encourages us to practice mantra artha chintanam. That is, we must meditate on the meaning of the mantra. Only then is the full power of the mantra released. It's called as mantra artha chintanam. If we are absent-minded and not aware of the meaning, we remain unfocused. The secret is proper inner orientation, incorporating the meaning of the mantra in the mind. Please engage me in your service. By this, Sambandha Gyan is established, and thus we understand we have a relationship with Krishna. So if you remember our first exercise, after the first stanza we discussed, Jiva is there in the material world, and he is part and parcel of Krishna. So we did a Sambandha Gyan exercise where, the first sutra is that I am a finite consciousness, Krishna's servant. And Krishna is supreme consciousness, infinite consciousness, and he's my master. And the material world is the space I'm imprisoned here, and it is meant for my rectification of being absent in that relation. So now I have to be present in that relationship. And with this Sambandha Gyan, we are supposed to chant. So similarly, meditating on the meaning of the mantra is also establishing Sambandh with Krishna. Now, how many of your mothers here? Please raise your hand. Please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 4, 5. Yes, we will ask Shwet Gopi Mataji. Shwet Gopi Mataji. So I know you, that's why I'm asking you. You have a daughter, right?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. What's her name?
Her name is Gaurangi.
Gaurangi. Now, when you take the name Gaurangi, what is, when you're taking that name, just think about it, taking that name, along with the name, what is the connection being established while taking the name? When you call out your daughter's name, what is the connection you feel?
I just have the feeling that she is my daughter.
Yes, this is what I wanted. So, do you feel difficulty while taking the name of your daughter?
No,
But in the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, sometimes we feel difficulty while taking the name. We have difficulty in concentration.
uh, no difficulty in taking the name, but yes, surely with the concentration.
Yes, but do you feel that same when taking the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that you're taking that name in relationship with Krishna as you take the name of your daughter? Do you feel there is it the same or it's different while chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra?
It's the same. I'm conscious that I am taking the Lord's name, Lord's holy names.
But usually, what is our experience is that when we call out somebody's name and we have a relationship which is established, and calling that name, and we call out that name also with affection. We call out that name also with affection. But with respect to the holy name, because that relationship, Sambandhigan, is not deep, it is not deeply established. So that's why that name also, what we Ucharan we do, it is not in Sambandhigan. That's why Mantra Artha Chintanam helps us. It helps us, And, I see many devotees sometimes while chanting the holy name, they're battling when they're chanting, they're like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, as though, they're calling Krishna and please don't come, So, we should call out, Prabhupada says, Priti Purvakam, the holy name, as it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Tesham Satate Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. Just like, a mother will call the daughter Priti Purvakam, come here, come and have prasadam, So that name, what we call, is called with Sambandhagyan and with deep relationship and with affection. So similarly, we should practice also the holy name, and Mantra Artha Chintanam helps that. It helps. The whole idea of chanting the holy name is to attract the presence of the Lord by glorifying him. We call him with affection because he possesses all the best qualities of beauty, strength, kindness, knowledge, and is capable of the supermost form of action. And because we really need him. So we should try to call that name with affection, Priti Purvakam. All the acharyas, great teachers such as Jeev and Raghunath Das Goswamis, Gopal Guru Goswami and Bhaktivinoda Thakur have left us list of meanings of the Mahamantra. Of course, there are very esoteric explanations given by Gopal Guru Goswami, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jeev Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami. But for us, best is to first focus on what Prabhupada has given the meaning. Srila Prabhupada compacts all of these into the prayer, my dear Radha and my dear Krishna, please engage me in your service. You're actually calling out. We should not chant the holy name, we should call out to Radha and Krishna. Dhake, it is called as dhake. Dhake means to call out, Now, this is an important meditation. This is from Harinam Chintamani, 325, third chapter. Third chapter is Glories of Namabhas. It's a very, very important chapter. And this chapter should be thoroughly understood because Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that one who understands Namabhas, he will be liberated. One who understands this chapter of Namabas. So in the third chapter, he says, Tabe yadi jiva sadhu vaishnava kripaya sambandha jnanete puna Krishna namapaya. However, by the mercy of Vaishnava sadhu, a jiva may attain sambandha jnana along with Krishna nam. Now here is a footnote. What is that sambandha jnana? Sanatan Goswami is asking Mahaprabhu, Ki ami? Who am I? And why am suffering the 3-4 miseries in this material world? And Mahaprabhu's answer is Jivera Sarupoy Krishnera Nityadas. Bhagavan Sambandha. He gives that knowledge in the Sanatan Shiksha. So when you attain the mercy of a sadhu, he gives you that Sambandha Gyan. That what? I am finite consciousness and an eternal servant of Krishna. Krishna is infinite consciousness and my only master. This gross material world is a prison house meant for my purification. This knowledge is known as Sambandha. And we did this exercise in the second class, if you remember. So chanting with Sambandha itself, if you meditate on this and start practicing your chanting, you will see a lot of difference in your chanting. Now, the real name versus the shadow name. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written 2 books on chanting, Sri Harinam Chintamani and the sequel, Bhajan Rahasya. He says in the 3rd chapter of Sri Harinam Chintamani that we need to chant in an awareness of our relationship with Krishna. In our relationship with Krishna. Now, frankly speaking, many devotees who have deities at home, and it's only 2 of the experiences which I have till today in the last 20 years of how sometimes we can not have relationship with the deity, although we have deities. So I'll share that experience because it is important that we be aware of our relationship with Krishna in the form of holy name or the deities. So in one of the devotees' houses, and a very senior elevated Vaishnava had gone for prasad. And were deities of Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra in the hall, and practically the whole hall was occupied by the deities. And there was another small living room and a kitchen, that's it. So both the husband and wife were serving the very senior devotee. I was sitting down and honoring prasad. And both their children also were there. And the husband was introducing them that this is my son, this is my elder son, he's doing his engineering. So the senior devotee asked, how many members are there in your house? And he said, me, my wife, and my 2 children. And he spontaneously said, what about Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra? Are they not part of your family? Are they not your family members? You every day offer bhoga. So suddenly they were taken by a shock. And then, the senior devotee mentioned that, whenever you go out, ask their permission. Whenever you come in the house, take their permission. So this is how we can be not aware of our relationship with Krishna, even with the deities which are at home. This is first example which I have seen, which I practically experienced. The second one I came across, I had gone to a house to visit a very senior Mataji. She told me, kindly be seated. My Gopal is having his brunch. So till then, please be seated. And I was really amazed because I really thought her son Gopal is taking breakfast. And she meant my deity Gopal. So the way she spoke those words, that how my Gopal is now taking breakfast, very personal. She had a relationship with that deity, I could understand the elevated level of consciousness. So this awareness of our relationship with Krishna, this kind of chanting is going to be, very, very powerful and potent. And there is an instance of one of the senior devotees narrating to me about Yamuna Mataji, who was Prabhupada disciple. And she had her deities and she used to cook for the deities. And one day, this senior devotee, who's also Prabhupada disciple, he just hid backside the door and observed how Yamuna Devi was offering the bhoga to the deities. And she took the plate, and then she was telling, Radha Krishna, see, this is puri, and this is halwa, this is the chutney. This is meant, puri has to be first taken with the chutney. So like that, she gave a whole explanation, literally speaking with the deities, and then now you can please have, and then she offered the prayers. So very personal relationship. So this also we should try to practice in our chanting, because we are absent in that relationship deep in our heart. So in that awareness, we should chant in our relationship with Krishna. If we don't do this, then we will only ever obtain a shadow of the holy name, not the real name, not the real name. The shadow of the holy name is sometimes, you can see a picture of a thali, there is a paratha, sabzi, and all the items. And just by seeing the picture of the thali, you cannot relish the items in it. You need the actual thali. So similarly, if you're not chanting in that relationship, you are chanting the shadow name. It is called as Chaya Namabas, for your kind information. It is Chaya Namabas. And Namaprad is again, it's at a lower level. So you'll not chant the real name. And now I am again quoting that from the Harinam Chintamani. Yavat sambandhya jnana sthira nai hoy, tavat anarte namabasa ashray. When he has no steady knowledge of Sambandha, that deep relation of steadily he is not chanting, then he will maintain anarthas, tavat anarthe, and take shelter of namabas. Namabase ashray. That means if you are not chanting in the sthira sambandha gyan, your namabhas, you will be at the namabhas level of chanting, and there are still anarthas. You will maintain the anarthas. Until by the Guru's mercy, Sambandha Gyan arises, then the anarthas of ignorance will remain with the jiva. Thus, while he chants the holy name, it will be namabhas and not Shuddhanam. So if, think about it, if this is only namabhas, then if we are chanting namapara, then where, we are still not at the Sambandha Gyan level also. So, if we are not chanting in Sambandha Gyan, if we are chanting in Sambandha Gyan, then we are chanting Namabhas. So from Namabhas, we have to go to Shuddhanam. So chanting in Sambandha Gyan is very, very important. Otherwise, the anarthas will not go away. And Namabhas, there are anarthas in the form of clouds and in the form of fogs. And the anarthas are avidya, especially not being aware of my identity as a soul. So this is very, very deep rooted, and that's why we should understand this, that how important it is for us to chant in Sambandha Gyan. Okay, now having understood this knowledge, let us look into the exercise and practical application of Sambandha Gyan on the meditation of the meaning of the mantra. Okay, now this is the exercise we need to do actually in the workshop, but y'all can just hear it now. Enter the higher connection. One way to enter into the presence of the Lord when chanting is to practice mantrartha chintanam, which we spoke about. This unleashes the intrinsic spiritual potency of the mantra. The best way to do this is to reflect on a pertinent verse from Shastra to prompt our awareness. So mantrartha chintanam is to reflect on the particular verse from the Shastra. Again, before doing so, please align yourself. Now you should sit before your altar with deities or pictures of the Lord in front. If you're outside or traveling, invoke a mental image. So this is called as the concept of Ishtadev is very important. Ishta means something which is very, very dear to our heart. Now, everyone knows that certain preparations somebody might like. Somebody might like rasgulla, somebody like pakodas, because they are very dear to us. They are called as, these items are very dear. Similarly, everyone should have a Ishtadev. There are many deities in our ISKCON temples, and we know that our heart naturally flows to our particular deities. We have natural attraction maybe for Radha Gopinath or Radha Madhav or Radha Shyam Sundar. So those deities which spontaneously my heart is drawn to, they are our Ishtadevs. So we should keep these pictures in front and chant in Sambandha Gyan. I am chanting for your pleasure. So by this, you can actually, at least come out of the Namaprad stage. So here we need to sit before these deities and picture. We need to sit tall with straight spine. With eyes closed, take a few deep breaths, bringing your awareness to each inhale and exhale until your mind becomes calm and focused. So it's very important while chanting that before we begin chanting, you can inhale and exhale. While inhaling, observe the breath which is flowing inside. And while exhaling, observe the breath. So by doing this, the gross engagement of the senses and the sense objects, you withdraw that. And in fact, the subtle body and the gross body is connected through pranas. They are connected to the pranas. And the pranas are the airs which are flowing. So by regulating the air by inhaling and exhaling, we are thereby able to calm the mind so that the mind can attentively hear the holy name. Remember, if distracting thoughts or feelings arise, gently let go of them and focus on the breathing. So while inhaling, take the positive energy, and exhaling, let all the negative thoughts go away. And that's how you calm the mind. When you feel centered, calm and focused, open your eyes and gently gaze at the deities. Appreciate that you are Krishna's eternal servant and turn to him in prayer. So this is now mantra-artha chintanam, turning to the prayer. First of all, you have to understand your sambandha gyan, that you have Krishna sambandha. Recite the following verse in earnest. Krishna tumar yadi bole ek baar, maya badha hoite Krishna tare kare par. One is immediately freed from the clutches of Maya if he seriously and sincerely says, my dear Lord Krishna, although I have forgotten you for so many, oh my goodness, this translation is not complete. Madhya Leela 22:33. Madhya Leela. This comes in the Sanatan Shiksha 22:33. Please engage me in your service. Please engage me in your service. So here, let's go into the verse. I'll just add this. Oh, the translation was not complete here. Yes. I've forgotten you for so long, although I've forgotten you for so long, so many years in the material world. Today I'm surrendering unto you. Tumar Ahan, I'm your sincere and serious servant. Please engage me in your service. So here the verse is saying, Krishna Tumar Han Yadi Bole Ek Bar, once. And Prabhupada is saying, we have to sincerely and seriously say this. Really from the heart we should say. And this is the meditation, mantra-artha chintanam we should do. Enter the meaning of the verse. Connect. That Krishna, I am yours. I am yours. Take a moment to feel how it brings you into spiritual consciousness. Then chant, japa and kirtan in this spirit. If your mind should wander, then what we should do? Gently try to get it back to the holy name. So this is Mantrartha Chintanam, which is a very, very, very powerful technique by which we can chant the holy names attentively. Any other Mantrartha Chintanam anyone knows who can quote a very similar meditation which helps us to be in the relationship and chant? Anyone knows? A very, very powerful verse is there in the Ramayana. Of Mantrartha Chintanam. It is Sakradeva Prapanna Tava Asmi iti Yachet Aham Abhaya Sarvada Etad Dridam Vratam Mama. Sakradeva once Prapanna in surrendered consciousness. Tava Asmi, I am yours. If I say I am yours, Krishna or Rama, then Abhayam Aham Sarvada. I will give him Abhaya. Abhaya, I'll give him Prana. Eta Drida Vratam Mama. This is my determined vow. So these kind of prayers, that I am yours, Krishna. Krishna Tumar Hon. Yadi Bole Ekabar. So this kind of meditation will help us in chanting with Sambandha Gyan, with Mantrartha Chandanam. Okay, so I will stop here. Now, next, after explaining that these are the symptoms, and that's why it is very, very important that we take the holy name without offenses. And what are those offenses? Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to quote those 10 offenses, and he will go into each of these offenses quite in summary, I can say. In detail, he goes into Harinam Chintamani, but this itself understanding will be enough for us to, work on these 10 offenses so that we can take the holy name without offenses. Okay, so tomorrow we will go into the discussion of these 10 offenses and we'll begin with the first and the second offense. And the first offense is very, very important and we'll try to study that tomorrow. Any questions, any clarifications anyone has up till now? This second part, Mantra Chinjanam exercise, actually, we need to do it in a workshop, but you can all practice. I'll share the slides with you. Any clarifications, any questions anyone has? Okay, so we'll stop here and tomorrow we'll continue now with the elaboration of the 10 offenses. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki Jai. Hare Krishna.